right, everybody. I'm doing a quick presentation on Tableau web data connectors. You may recognize me from the Java meetups, our travel. We may be doing some Java RX at the next one. It looks pretty interesting. So, raise your hand if you know it, or have seen or have heard of Tableau. It's a pretty popular and expensive tool that a lot of enterprises like because it helps you aggregate data from one or many sources. You can create live dashboards using their Tableau server or on your desktop. It presents data in easily digestible forms, and it makes it pretty, which business users tend to like. If you want, you can go to this link, and they do a visualization of the day, which is made by somebody from the Tableau community. And there's a lot of really cool examples of what you can do with the tool. Some quick ones that we can look at just to give you an idea of what's possible, because my example is absolutely terrible. We can look at record-breaking roller coasters, if it loads. Might as well load a few. There we go. Please run this a little faster. So here's something that's generated live on the fly with Tableau. This is an analysis of all the spells that were used in all the Harry Potter books. It tells you the word position, and if you hover over it, it tells you what the spell is, the effects of the spell, what book it occurred in, and also how much they were used. So you can also do sort by order of appearance or order of occurrences. There's also this record-breaking coasters one, which gives you a bunch of the most record-breaking coasters in the world. You can click on them. You can sort them by different attributes of speed, height, inversions, or length. There's no vomit factor on here. You get it auto loads. You have a video point of view of that. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do with this library. And I think one of my favorite ones is probably this Simpsons visualization, which breaks down and analyzes the entire series of Simpsons to date, including most watched episodes, what characters have appeared in the most episodes. So there's a lot of really cool stuff out there and a really cool community behind Tableau. So how do you connect your data into Tableau? And Tableau already gives you, if you have the paid version, a ton of connectors out of the box if you want to connect to MySQL or Oracle or any other typical RDBMS. There's also Elasticsearch connectors, a lot of other NoSQL data connectors. And the open source Tableau community has also made a decent library of web data connectors. So web data connectors is a small framework and lifecycle that Tableau created to allow you to make a connector for any type of data source you can think of. So maybe you have a super custom database that's all based off of your own storage format for whatever reason, and your business keeps asking you for like CSV dumps of this data. Well, you could write them a Tableau web data connector, and they could just plug in a URL, and now they have instant access and queryability into that system. So here's an example I just put together on analysis of my Twitter account. And I'll pull up the actual, well, good thing I saved the, good thing I saved it. My computer crashed earlier. So basically what you're seeing here is I was able to pull in my tweets using somebody wrote a Tableau web data connector for Twitter. And this is my tweets over the last year. And I was able to say date is on the x-axis, y is number of retweets, and then the size of this dot is how many likes it got. So you can see I don't get retweeted very much. I don't say too many entertaining things. Now, if I go into here, I guess I could try to recreate it real quick. You can use Tableau Public without paying for the enterprise version. You get a really slimmed down number of connectors you can use, such as Excel, text file, JSON, static file, and then you can also connect to any web data connector. And there's a bunch out there, and I have a link in my slide to all the community ones. So if I connect to the Twitter one, we can we'll put in mine, and I'll say get tweets. So now you can see that I have a connection here and a table of Glassman's tweets, and this is the schema that the web data connector provided me. And if I update it, it'll actually go out and apparently it somehow has access to pull all of my tweets I've ever done. So now I have all the tweets I've ever done locally, so I can do any kind of mucking around with this data that I want. Now if I go into an actual worksheet, so worksheets are where you actually create the visualizations. Seems to be going a little slow right now. All right. So I'm going to add in create a date, and I'm going to add in a favorite. We'll do a retweet. We'll do a retweet on the column. And I'm going to pick this. This is why I didn't want to do it on the fly. But yeah, I'm definitely not a Tableau expert. We have a lot of business users at where I work that like to use Tableau. So that's why I was more interested in the data connector, is getting the data to the business people who like to use Tableau. So I'm not too up to date on how to do anything cool with it, like those examples, but I know how to get the data to it. So you can see it's pretty easy to get the data in from a public source. So if you wanted to create a web data connector, it's actually really easy. They have a whole guide you can walk through, and they even have a local host server you can test it out on. And so what you do, I have an example that I made for meetup.com. I won't do it live, but we go to GitHub. And I'll go to my profile. So really all you need is an HTML page that gives you some basic inputs that you can use to filter your data or put in credentials. You can use OAuth 2 or any other type of credentials to log into the server that's hosting your connector. And then the connector is just a JavaScript file. So here, I'm just using jQuery and HTML, and this does a redirect to log into meetup.com, and then returns. And there's two basic things you need to implement. One is a JavaScript function that takes a callback, and you create a schema on the fly. So here, I'm creating one for Meetup that is a venue, and it has the name of the venue, the address, the phone, and you give it an ID, a data type, and some aliases. And I'm also creating a categories table. And then I pass that data back into the callback. And that callback is what Tableau hooks into just to know what your schema is. Then there's another phase, so the connector has a few phases that actually goes out and retrieves the data. So when Tableau calls the connector phase, or the get data phase, it gives you a table object and then a done callback. So now here's where I would actually go out and call the meetup.com API, and then when it comes back, Tableau actually calls this function multiple times for different tables. So if I'm getting the venues, if Tableau is requesting the venues information, I would go out and call the venues API, and then I would do all the work in here. If it's calling for categories, I'm making the AJAX call in here, putting the data together, and then calling this done. So that gives the control back to Tableau and says, I'm done. And then here's just the little jQuery code that I did to, if I can find this. So this is what pops up if you put this URL into Tableau. So you put in your API token from Meetup, and then you give it a start date and an end date, and then you click get Meetup data, and then Tableau takes over. I didn't get it working because our Meetup.com OAuth was not playing nice, but it gives you an idea of I didn't really have to do much to make a connector to an API that I didn't even own. Now, one of the things I thought would be really cool to implement is the web data connector. So I work for a company that provides very customizable data storage to universities. And one of the tough things we have is analyzing all the data across each university, because each university, like some like to call it a college, some like to call it department, some like to call it like organizational unit. So there's different labels for everything. They have different fields on different types of schemas, different data collection streams. So I thought it would actually be really possible with this to, when you call to get the schema from Tableau, it would actually give you back a dynamic schema based on what you're storing. And that way, all you have to do is make an algorithm to generate the Tableau schema on the fly, and then give them implement how they query that data, and then Tableau figures out where which field goes where. So now we would have a custom Tableau integration for every customer. And whether you want to charge for that or just give it away as something, as an add-on to your platform, I think that's really cool that you could give a super custom hook into your data for your customer to go and analyze their data on their own. So that's basically all I had. Did anybody have any questions on that? Tableau? So the public version is free, but there's a lot of limitations on it. The enterprise version is like $2,500 a license per year. Yeah, it gets really pricey. There might be some like efficiencies of scale there if you're a big company, but I'm not sure.
So the URL that you provide to Tableau responds to your connector, like what is actually?
So you can is anywhere you can host some static files like JSON or JavaScript and HTML is where you can host your connector. If I was going to do something like this, where I was going to actually return a custom schema based on internal data, I would probably actually have a backend app. And then instead of doing this, where I'm creating the schema in the JavaScript, I would actually make a callback to another server and then return it's just a JSON object. So you could pipe that right back to Tableau. I saw a question over here.
I'm just going to ask what the major difference is between the free and the paid versions.
Yeah, so the free one, I had the paid one for like a month, and then somebody else needed it at work. But if I go over here, so you can see this list is really short right now. The paid one is like, you have to scroll through it, all the different connectors you get out of the box. There's also some differences around, I don't think you can save dashboards and workbooks in the free version. So you can work all you want, but then export what you do, because you can't save it. Unless you're going to publish it to the web. If you publish it to the web, then that's like what all these free ones I was showing, or all these ones that are publicly hosted, we're done using Tableau Public. That's all I had. So, thanks.